So for the past 7 years, guys, my guests tonight have been taking the broad-reaching universe of World of Warcraft, where you can be just about anything, and building a community around being just one thing. They're the Cult of Elune, an all-Druid raiding guild on the Stormrage server here in the US. Now, you may have read about them on Wowhead or on Reddit or other sites. I know I had before I got a chance to meet them. But then the other night, I had the pleasure of raiding with them as they earned their AOTC title here in Season 1 of Dragonflight. So, joining me here now tonight, I've got Fluid. I called him Floyd earlier. Sorry, it's the way your name's spelled, but Fluid, the GM and raid leader of Cult of Elune, and Kimbo, one of their officers. So, thank you both of you for joining me. So I have to ask, and I know you've probably been asked this question a zillion times by everybody, but how'd this idea come about? I'd like to hear your origin story if you would, and you know, guys, be honest. You have to tell me as part of this. Were people making fun of you when you got started?
So, when it comes to the starting of the guild, we actually were not part of the founders. So, I took over GM probably near like 2019 when one of the final remaining founders stepped down, but I've been in the guild since, late summer of 2016. Fluid.
Slightly before that.
Yeah. So we've been. So we both have been present for a long time, been members for a long time, probably have been quiet for quite a while, and then we kind of all both blossomed at our own times. People still make fun of us for this idea, so I don't think that's ever changed.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. We have kind of the same thing in our guild where we have this revolving door of folks filling in officer roles and even as the GM, kind of just whatever the team needs at the time, right? And as people kind of come and go from the game and take breaks and whatnot. Interesting. So, your website, and I also got the vibe of this the other night, was that you're a raiding guild for druids of, quote, all skill levels, and that no one is asked to leave or is judged because of DPS or lack of mechanics and whatnot. So how broad and diverse of a community do you guys end up having? And tell me a little bit about how you guys have built that up.
We have players of, as mentioned, all skill levels. We have people that barely understand, don't stand in swirlies. But we also have players like yourself that'll show up with mythic raiding experience. As to how we've kind of dealt with that, it's just patience. Every person in the world can figure things out when given time, and so long as you guide them on this is what you do, anyone can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Definitely given kindness and resources to help better themselves. I know that if I look at my logs from way back in Legion when I first started raiding ever, they're awful.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's is, right? We all had to start somewhere. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? Where you're a little embarrassed and you don't know what you don't know the first day you get in there. So yeah, makes sense. And by the way, Fluid, I definitely felt your patience in there, and the calm, consistent way throughout the whole night. You just called mechanics, explained things between pulls. It was very soothing. But having said that, guys, with the patience and all, what's the goal each raid, and how difficult do you guys find it to get there sometimes?
I mean, I think my number one goal has always been raiding as a community. We never really got AOTC until lAEbLVjfyNn. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Which one is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really our first Eternal Palace. Yeah, that was really our first big AOTC kill. It was like the last weekend that we could get it,
Nice.
and we did it. And we've gotten it every single raid tier since then. And it's nice. It's a perk, and we love being able to get that for people. But a big thing for me really is, we're here to be a community of fun-loving or fun-running druids that just want to be together and have fun. And AOTC is a plus.
Right, and that was actually leads really well into my next question there, is that it doesn't feel like raid progression, which I know a lot of guilds, they kind of define themselves around their raid progression, or maybe they're an M+ community, but it really doesn't feel like that's necessarily the primary criterion for you guys, right? And just raid progression. I got to feel that there's a lot of other stuff you guys are involved in community building. That wasn't a question, which isn't a fair lead-in, but I'm expecting you to speak to that point.
I mean, in terms of like progression, it's always nice to progress. It's
Sure.
kind of a goal, but I mean, as Kimba said, as long as people are having fun, like every now and then people will just bring up a random thing in a boss fight, like halfway through a pull, and they'll just start
Sure.
going on, and it's like, just let them. Sometimes it's a bit of a nuisance, because some of the vet techs will just start
What
going
do you
off
mean?
about cats, and it's like, cool. Dodge the
Old
swirly.
mac and cheese, mac and cheese leftovers. That was a raid topic.
Wow.
Let's not bring that back.
But I mean, on that topic as well, the first thing that I ever, let me back up to the reason that I really started to become active with Cult of Balloon, because like I said, Fluid and I both had our moments of silence for probably months, years, if that. And then you kind of find your foothold of where you want to be and where you'll grow. And for that, for me, that was, we started what we call a Druid Fun Committee. And that's where we started our transmog contest that we do every month. And my favorite event we ever held, and my first event I ever attended, was our guild Christmas party back in 2016,
Nice.
2017. And I just was like, this is so fun. Like, what an incredible event, just of being silly and having fun.
That sounds
And
awesome.
we still host that guild Christmas party every year. We do our birthday party every single year, and we even added the Druid Olympics, which is server-wide. We really encourage like all druids from Stormrage and other servers to come and just compete in some silly Olympic games.
Nice. Is that? I'm guessing that's kind of similar to like the running of the gnomes or the trolls type community events we see out there.
Same type of ideas, usually a relay race and random things that we come up with every year.
Nice. Well, it sounds amazing. I love those get-together events. We've had, so I've been playing since vanilla, and some of the guys and gals that, I think when things were a little more innocent, we actually found out, oh man, like 60% of the guilds in the Southeast US, so why don't we all get together and have a get-together? And we got together in Atlanta, right? But I mean, like everything was new. So one of the guild mates, turns out he was only 16. And so if he was going to come to Atlanta, he had to come with his mom, who was also in the guild. And it was a moment like right out of the show, The Guild with Felicia Day, right? It's like, hey, I'm PaleWind, my real name is blah, so-and-so and so-and-so. We go around the thing and we get to this guy, and it's like, oh, hey, man. And he goes, this is my mom, Kathy. And it's like, oh, but we're introducing real life names. What's your real life name too? Kathy. And we're like, what? And it's just, anyway, I have fond memories of a lot of cool guild events like that too. So going back to the in-game stuff for a minute, obviously it's the community aspect that makes it really special, but going back to the game mechanics for a minute here, what are some of the benefits you guys have found when it comes to raiding and doing dungeons and stuff like that, when everybody's got the same toolkit because they're playing some of the same class that you've noticed?
Personally, as like the current raid leader, even in dungeons, just being able to call out Barkskin, and know the entire raid, or just about the entire raid, just gained a 20% damage reduction. That's really nice, because you can plan around that.
Yeah.
Or saying bear form, and short of the guardians who are already in bear form, the occasional resto druid won't do it because they're busy healing a tank or whatever, but like, everyone just turned into a literal tank with their health pool. Or go cat form, and people can make it. Like for Razageth, for example, being able to say, no matter where you are on a platform, cat form, everyone has dash and stampeding roar, move it. You can get to any point, no matter where you are in phase 1, you can drop your pool on a marker.
Mm-hmm.
It's just useful being able to call that out.
I noticed you definitely have that muscle memory. superfluid of calling things in what is it? Using Druid terms for everything. I was actually commenting that on my stream when I was running with you that one night, and I kind of do the same thing too. And some of the raiders I play with, they'll say things like, "I want to unsubscribe from Druid Facts by PaleWind," because I tend to do that too. So I've kind of started making hybrid terms, like I'll say Bear Wall for Survival Instincts, because nobody knows what the hell Survival Instincts is, but you can say Bear Wall, and they're like, I think he means Shield Wall, but he's a bear, so they can kind of get it. But
and absolutely, the resources that we have just by all of our melee DPS. What are you running? What are you running? Hey, what are you running? Like, I have so many cats even message me at the beginning of a new raid, or say they just started raiding with us, or say their DPS is low and they're like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, let me see your talents. Like, having any 5 people in one raid to be like, oh, like, try this or try this. And I absolutely would not be the Feral Druid that I am today without so many of our Feral Shandos that we have in Discord. Like, I wouldn't have known what weapons to craft. I wouldn't have known really what talent builds here and there, or like, do we actually like this talent build, and etc.
Yeah, I love talking shops. I love, by the way, that you just stuck Shando in there in casual conversation. Nice job bringing the RP to the interview. So obviously, guys, everything comes with a price. So when we go 30 deep of the same class, I'd imagine you guys have discovered there's some disadvantages from a strategic standpoint too, right?
Just a few.
just a few. The biggest one would be immunities. I'm sure you can think of at least one boss fight in every raid tier where Paladin or Hunter pop your shell or your bubble and run through this and just immune a mechanic. Yeah. Where we have to sit here and go, how do we deal with this? Usually it's go bear form and just soak it through just raw damage, or maybe we have to shove something to a corner and pray that we can live through it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's just everyone self-heal, because everyone has regrowth. Just about everyone can have like rejuve. Everyone's got bark skin, that sort of thing.
Some fights are just savvy to more burst healing, and Resto Druids just can't do that. When Drums was nerfed, when they took away Mark of the Wild, when or like this season's actually a pretty good example. Like, they almost completely changed Boomkins, and Boomkins were our top DPS, our most popular in raid. I mean, for the last 4 years plus, like, just we'd have a small handful of ferals, and with the Boomkin changes, it's been noticeable in just trying to learn the differences.
Yeah, there seemed to be a lot of ferals in the night that I was there. It made for very colorful kitties flying everywhere, which was fun.
I love it.
Which that was it was super fun. The one thing I kind of noticed too was, like, even when we were doing Razagath, I noticed that there seemed to be pinch points, right? Because all the ferals, they don't have a 3-minute incarn, right? Because they're probably taking the talent that DRs it, or CDRs it. But at the same time, that means all of them are popping it at the same time, and then all your Moonkins are doing their Celestial Alignment or their incarn at the same time. So I'd imagine there might be some times where it can be challenging when everybody's got the same cooldowns lining up too, right?
It can definitely be challenging. Thinking back to Shadowlands, like for Sludge Fist, where a fire mage just pop off every pillar, and we're sitting here and it's like, okay, we're going to have the ferals go on this pillar, half of the chickens go on this pillar, the other half go on this pillar.
Yep.
Maybe some of the cats can join them. Hopefully our damage is good enough by then.
Right.
It can definitely be a little rough. At the same time, it can be a bit comical, because 3 minutes ticks over and the boss just magically loses 10% of its health, and it's like, why? Oh yeah. And you kind of look around, and it's like everyone's got blue sparkles or armor on, and it's like, yep, we all popped our cooldowns.
That's fun. And obviously, just by the more all walks of video game life nature, you can't of your guild, you can't just say, hey, everybody go Night Fae, please, so we can all get the 1-minute convoke, right, or something like that. Just
what percentage of the guild was Night Fae? Probably 98.
Trying to think. I mean, short of our Venthyr Feral Druid, #1 in the world for a while.
Don't
know who that would be. Yeah, pretty much everybody was Night Fae.
No.
Mostly for flavor, because, I mean, why wouldn't you go Night Fae?
Of course.
Because you could be #1 Venthyr.
I too was Night Fae, pretty much wall to wall, with an occasional flirtation if I respect to do a key in a different like as Resto and needed to put my bugs everywhere. But yeah, same deal. Night Fae for the RP if nothing else. Nerd alert.
Like I said, I was Venthyr for the RP for a long time, and then I finally caved.
Nice.
I caved once they gave me the cosmetics, and I could be Night Fae.
Yeah, I gotcha. That's cool. Just a couple more nerd questions about how you guys make it happen here, and then we'll get you out on that. So, Kemba, I had the fortune of connecting with you on Old People Facebook, as my kids call it. And it doesn't feel like there's a lot of online gamers that take that leap to kind of grow their community into that by putting themselves out there in that fuzzy IRL space, still connected to your tune. What's that been like for you? Have there been any heartwarming stories, any nightmare ones that would be interesting either way?
Honestly, nothing too interesting. I don't
Probably
typically
a good
like
thing.
people to have my full name.
Sure, of course not.
But so people who come from Facebook and come in here technically know my full name, but technically people in my real life don't see those posts on. Not that I'm ashamed of it or anything. I would totally let people see it. But like I think when I was watching your stream the other night, you were like, "Oh, invited me," and only the people who have known me for a really long time.
Now I gotta bleep it out again. I bleeped that out. I bleeped that out in my cut up version of it, and I was gonna bleep it out. Now I'll have to go back and edit this too.
Sorry.
No. It's all good. It's all good.
But I watched in your video of the day that you were asking me by first name, and I was like,
that's because I didn't know.
I'm not offended by people knowing my first name. There's many people who have known me for years and they know my first name. And I knew that there were people in the Discord that also know my first name. But so I have never had any consequences from people knowing my first and last name, but it's always just a precaution for me.
Yeah, no worries. I actually talked about that a little bit in my intro before I got the invite. I was like, I have a feeling these guys are going to be awesome because that is super sweet and endearing that you're looking for community involvement on socials. I'm not sure I'd go there if I were a lady, but it seems to work for her because I got a wife and a daughter, and people are creeps. So, but
the worst thing I've ever had is someone whispered me trying to. They wanted to know if I knew anybody who wanted to sell an account that had the Legion Mage Tower on it.
Oh, okay, yeah, and
I didn't even respond to them.
Yeah, but they got that. I got one time. So sorry that my one. If you guys want to hear it, my one WoW intersects with real life story. So I'm at a wedding reception maybe about 2-3 years ago. A good friend of mine from high school is getting married, and I know you wouldn't be able to tell by all this dead sexiness, but I was the dork with huge glasses in high school, and so I bump into one of the popular girls from high school there at the reception, and I'm a happily married guy for 23, 24 years now, and whatchamacallit, but I bump into her, and she's kind of leaning in as we're chatting and talking about stuff, leaning in with that body language that, can't tell if it's 3 or 4 drinks into the evening or if your stories, but you had a glow up there, Pale, nice job kind of thing, leaning in, and she's like, so what do you do for fun these days? And I'm like, well, I still play video games. And you could kind of tell. She was like, okay, maybe he plays like Fortnite or some kind of FPS or something. And I say, what? And again, she's leaning in and really interested and engaged in the conversation. And I say, oh, I play World of Warcraft. And she went, oh my God, and threw herself back like that so loud. People at multiple tables around us turned around to make sure there wasn't like an assault happening. And I was like, I just don't feel like all the world is probably ready to know how awesome my hobby is. So, but that was a nice little reminder for me. But that's cool. I'm so glad it works out for you guys, though, to help kind of build the engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. And Facebook works because old people are on Facebook and old people play WoW. So.
I mean, hey, I'm in a guild where we do 1 night a week mythic raiding for people who went hardcore when they were in their 20s and 30s, and it's like, bro, I got a job. So, and ain't nobody got time for that. So I feel you. I feel that is the key recruiting point we have. Well, guys, I have had a great time catching up with you guys. Is there anything you guys would want to throw out there for folks that are interested in getting involved or getting to know more about your community?
With the, is it the current patch that's coming out, tomorrow? Or later in the season where we're gonna have cross-faction guilds. But I mean,
That's
if you're
I think it's on the 2nd of May. I
Yeah.
think.
2nd of May, well, I mean, if
It's
you're
right
an
around the
Alliance
corner.
Druid for now, you can join the guild as long as you're on Stormrage, hang out, do what you're gonna do. And if you're a Horde Druid, until we can have cross-faction guilds, we got the community link that I'm sure can be put somewhere.
Yep. Oh no, I do have one more question for you guys. This is important because you hinted at it the other day, and I gotta know more about it. So let me get you out of here on this question. You can't all just play druids, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what you're into. Everybody's got to have a cheat day, right? Like, there's got to be days where you go, you know what? I really just want to log on with a green name and raid as a monk or something, right? Like, how do alts work in y'all's guild?
So
About the alts, I know personally, I've got 4 druids on this server alone,
Woo!
which isn't a lot in our guild. There's a lot of people that have like 20 or 30 druids, but I have every class. I currently only have one other class at level 70, and that's a rogue that hit 70 for
that's
lock
basically a
boxes,
feral druid.
and then I logged off of it. Haven't been back. I've also been using it for the crafting table things for
Sure,
the
sure.
weeklies.
Mhm.
But we do have an alt guild. What is it? Secret Bacon Society.
Yeah.
It's basically the non-druid parking lot. So
Nice.
if we have friends in the community that aren't druid mains but still want to be a part of the community, that's generally where they'll park their characters. And with the current loot system, we kind of opened it up to be a little bit more multi-class once we've killed it. So we're able to pull from that and just kind of go, hey, you can join us. There's no druid pressure. We've already downed it as all druid.
Nice.
Yeah, helps keep things interesting too when we're kind of at the end of a tier season,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I personally have Kimba was my first ever character, first ever druid. She's my number one. I have currently no other alts at level 70, and I have like maybe 2 or 3 at 60. So they've maybe trickled in heroic raid once or twice, and that's it. So.
Yeah.
Never see the light of day. I mean, Fluid's my first character from, what, 2005 or something?
Nice. Old
Which is-
vet like me. All right, well, guys, thank you so much, guys. The website is cultofaloon.com. They have a schedule and a community calendar, up there on their site. They also, as they've already mentioned, have a thriving in-game cross-faction community and a Discord server. With their okay, I've put the links in the description of the video below here, so be sure to check them out. And Kimba and Fluid, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It won't matter because they're going to watch this video whenever they watch it, so I've been saying tonight, but you get the point, guys. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Pale.
Yep. Thanks a lot.